Not the King of England, but the Governor of Virginia is with us this morning. Governor Glenn Youngkin joins us here. Good morning to you, Governor. I appreciate you coming on today. How's everything in your world?
Yeah, good morning, John. And I would just also remind everyone that when George Washington stepped down as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army after vanquishing the British, King George III said he's the greatest man in the world.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And we celebrate that, and the relationship is knock on wood good at the moment. It's not good between you and the Justice Department. I am stunned and furious that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are coming, and through their Justice Department, are coming after you and the Attorney General, Jason Miyares, for you enforcing a law that Democrat Tim Kaine signed into law in 2006 about removing ineligible, illegal voters. Is there an update on this?
Well, it's unprecedented, and it's absolutely unreal that our Justice Department is going to sue the Commonwealth of Virginia because someone walks into a DMV, self-identifies as a non-citizen, and then we are able to match that self-identified non-citizen to a voter roll that has that person on it, and then the registrar in that person's precinct sends them a letter that says you have 14 days to affirm you are a citizen, you're coming off the voter roll. Now, that was a law that was signed in 2006. It's been in action for 18 years. Terry McAuliffe and Ralph Northam applied the law all the way up through and including this, quote, quiet period. And at the end of the day, it is individualized, not systematic like the Justice Department suggests. And this is absolutely out of bounds. And in fact, this is why people lose faith in our election processes, because a very simple process of identifying someone who walks into a DMV and says, I'm not a citizen, but I'm on the voter rolls, and we take them off. You cannot believe this. And therefore, I have pledged to Virginians that I will continue to work and fight this so that we have clean voting rolls. Listen, over the course of the last even few months, we've seen Arlington County and Loudoun County and Fairfax County actually refer over to registrars, and these letters have gone out, and voters have been removed because they're non-citizens. They come off the voter rolls. And the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and Virginia law says we have to do this. And I swore an oath that I would support and protect and defend the Constitution, and I'm going to do it.
Well, you're gaining my confidence, and Democrats in Washington, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, that whole team, they're losing my confidence. They always tell us they don't want cheating, and then they do something like this. And I appreciate you being bold and standing up for those of us who want a fair election. Doesn't guarantee that our side's going to win, but I just want a fair election.
Well, John, this is why we have gone to great ends through my executive order to make sure that we have fair, accurate, transparent elections. And that's why we have paper ballots and we have counting machines, not voting machines. They're not hooked up to the internet. We have drop boxes that are monitored 24/7 or secured. We have ballot custody procedures, which make everybody feel like at least, we know where these ballots are. And then finally, we have clean voting rolls. And this is what we do in Virginia. This is why people can trust our election. And I do believe you hit it right on the nose. This is why people are losing faith in the Biden-Harris administration's ability to really stand up for what's right, and why I see Donald Trump surging, not just across the country, but here in Virginia.
Isn't it interesting that on Channel 12 just a minute ago, while I'm sitting here in the studio flipping through the stations, the Kamala Harris people are spending money in Virginia, which I don't think they'd be doing that in Richmond if they thought they had it all locked up. Do you have any hope that maybe Donald Trump pulls off a miracle in this state?
He is surging. And one reminder is that in early October 2021, the polls had me down 4. And I have the great honor of serving as your governor today. And so a lot happens in this last month, and we are seeing a real recognition across the country and across Virginia that we want strength back in the White House, that we're tired of having an economy that has high inflation and low growth, and we want an economy that has high growth and low inflation. and that we're tired of seeing our border turn every state into a border state. And John, the craziness is that this border issue is something that Kamala Harris refuses to even acknowledge. And you saw Brett Baer the other day ask her 5 different ways, is there anything you would have done different in the border? Or do you feel responsible for the deaths that have happened? Do you think that unwinding Trump's executive orders for remain in Mexico and reestablishing a catch and release policy was wrong? And she just refuses to even acknowledge that as borders are, this is her fault.
Yeah.
And we need to secure our border. We need to strengthen the White House in order to reestablish law and order in America. This is what we're doing in Virginia as well. I have to say, I was really pleased yesterday that Attorney General Miyares and I were able to report that after 2 years of Operation Bold Blue Line and Operation Ceasefire, we've seen murders in our most violent cities go down 34%. I mean, the reality is we have to go to work, and we have to prosecute crime. We have to hold the line. We have to back the blue. We have to do common sense things in order to bring crime down. And at the top of the list from a national policy is we've got to secure the border. And that's what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance will do.
Yeah, well, thank goodness you're pushing those initiatives that worked in the past, and you and Jason Miyares seem to have figured that out. And are Democrats fighting you on this, or are they acknowledging, hey, we had a problem, it's good that you're doing this, and we're not going to try to stymie your efforts?
Well, let me put it this way. Leadership in cities that are led by Democrats, mayors and elected city council members, are very happy with the work that we've done in our 13 Operation Bold Blue Line ceasefire cities. And these are the most violent cities in Virginia. I mean, they are about 20% of the population, and they account for nearly 60% of the murders in Virginia. And I stood with the mayor of Roanoke yesterday, who is absolutely thrilled that we've seen murder rate come down over 50% in Roanoke because of the collaborative effort between local, state, and federal resources in order to hold people accountable, arrest them, and prosecute them and get them off the streets. And the reality is that somewhere around 5% of the violent criminals are perpetrating 75% of the crimes. Right. We know who they are, we know where they are, and we just have to go stop them. And that's what we've done. And I want to hold up our men and women in blue. I have to say, our law enforcement heroes went through just a torturous period of time under the previous administrations where they were demeaned and demoralized. And we back the blue in Virginia today. And I really do feel they know that, John, because it's so important they know that they have my support and Winsome Sears' support and Jason Miyares' support and the support of 8.7 million Virginians who say thank you for the tremendous sacrifice you are making. We pay them more. We are equipping them better. We're supporting them. And guess what? They are doing tremendous, tremendous work making Virginia safe.
Well, they hear it from you, and you're not just talking the talk. I think they're feeling it and seeing it, and I, for one, really appreciate that. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Southwest Virginia. Last time I saw you, I saw you in Northumberland campaigning with Hung Cao, and then you were with David Owen, the delegate from Henrico, in Goochland, in my backyard. And you said you were going to make sure that everybody in Southwest Virginia got a chance to vote. Not Republicans, not Democrats, everybody. What's it looking like, the voting and the recovery effort?
Well, let me cover recovery first. I was just there again yesterday, and I cannot express more admiration for the folks in Southwest Virginia. I mean, they are tough. They have deep character, and the communities have come together like you would want them to do, but sometimes in other places around the country, maybe they don't, but in Virginia, they do. And I'm so proud of the work that's gone on from our first responders to our community leaders to everyday citizens who are helping each other across the state. And when they've had a flood of good resources have come in, and we've had first responders and all kinds of supports coming from churches and localities. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. But we can't forget about these folks because they are just starting what will be a long recovery. I was with an amazing 92-year-old farmer yesterday, and it's a she. And she still works her farm, and she lost roofs off her buildings and fences and a lot of her livelihood. And she said, "Don't worry, Governor, I've got this. My grandfather started this farm, and I'm going to continue to farm it." So these folks are tough, but they need some help. And yes, we're working hard to deliver that. I'm so proud of the whole team, and we're going to make sure that Southwest Virginia is even better than it was before. I can say that all the voting precincts are up and operating, and therefore I'm encouraging everybody, get out and vote. We've had incredibly strong early voting. Get out and vote, and bring 10 friends with you, because this is the most important election of our lifetime. And I am so proud of the work that our poll workers are doing across the Commonwealth. We have tons of volunteers. We've had 5,000 volunteers again this year, just like we had in 2021, working the polls and making sure that folks can trust this election. But most importantly, thank you for voting. And if you haven't, get out there and vote.
Well, I admire that you're working so hard. This is not your election. And everywhere I turn, everywhere I travel across the state, there's Glenn Youngkin, the governor, campaigning with other people to try to help them. And I think that matters. So thank you for doing it. I know you got to go. But do you have any insight on this Tony Bennett thing? You're with your basketball background, do you know what happened at UVA?
My heart broke yesterday, like every other big basketball fan and Virginia fan. I mean, Tony Bennett is one of the greatest coaches that college basketball will ever see, and he's also a great man. And I was just heartbroken to see that he's stepping down. He'll get a chance today to share with everybody why, but we're going to miss him. This was a real loss for Virginia basketball. I mean, got a 2-time Naismith Coach of the Year, 2-time AP Coach of the Year, national championship in 2019, ACC championships. And by the way, graduating players who you want to represent Virginia and the University of Virginia. We're going to miss this guy. He has been a great leader in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yeah, I imagine you'll be watching that press conference, too, in the governor's office. The governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, thank you always. I appreciate it.
God bless you, John. Thanks.
Yes, sir.